Hi, I'm drummer Snappy Smith, and welcome to Lesson 8 of my couch series. Again, you and me on the couch with a practice pad, going over those lessons and exercises as taught to me by Freddie Gruber. Now in Lesson 7, I introduced what was referred to by Freddie as the system. And if you recall, it was kind of what I referred to as kind of a two-dimensional approach. Basically, it's kind of like an alternating technique. And just kind of pick up where we left off. The key to at least applying the system to the snare drum is having a really low, flat level strike position. And then as you're coming down with your arm, you do a reverse release and break away below the level of the drum and then come up into kind of a balanced position with the hand. So it's this rocking up and down approach, and with the right hand the same. And you'll notice as you develop this and develop a sensitivity to it, there's kind of a pivot point between the tip of the stick and your fulcrum that you start to realize. And it's almost like a teeter-totter kind of effect. You start feeling that the stick is functioning more as a lever, and you kind of get this. It's a high tolerance. It requires a lot of sensitivity, but you get to the point where you can kind of just keep it bouncing with very little motion, just from moving your arm up and down. So there's kind of two ways of approaching this. One is this down-up approach, kind of reverse release approach. The other is the opposite, which is a forward release approach, where you're kind of coming up and coming down to your strike position. So you kind of kick it up and down. This is what you probably have heard to refer to as kind of a push-pull effect. Push-pull technique. But it's coming from that forward release, and then the down-up, reverse release, is kind of a pull-push. Pull-push. So push-pull or pull-push. You can alternate. Push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push. Just slow it down. That's a triplet. So it takes a while to develop the sensitivity and to be able to allow the stick to to bounce freely. But eventually, you get to this. And that was the down up, and then the push pull is more. So just very little motion. But that's kind of, I think, developing the system to its highest degree. With the right hand, of course, it's... I think the left hand lends itself better to this kind of a technique as far as getting speed than the right hand, at least for me. But that's the down up, right? Pull push, and then push pull is the forward technique, which is again that push pull, which is faster for me, at least for me. And if you're playing 16ths on your hi-hat, is more of like an eighth note rock. So each one kind of lends itself to a different kind of groove and feel. And so this kind of system approach, this alternating up-down approach towards drum technique was also applied to the feet. So this is, I think, what made Freddie really unique, especially in the earlier years when he was teaching. He was the only cat really teaching drum set technique, where he would take somebody like me from the beginning and he would use the same technique taught to the hands as to the feet. So your hands and your feet are using the same system or technique approach. And by doing that, you kind of had this unified technique, which made it easier for you to coordinate your hands and your feet together, and for everything to be working in the same kind of time space. If your hands and your feet are all using the same technique and coming from the same place, then everything grooves, everything works in conjunction with itself, and it's much easier to kind of do interplay between your hands and your feet. I don't have a bass drum pedal here. I think in my next lesson I'll get into the Colin Bailey book and kind of show how the system was applied towards playing the hi-hat and the bass drum. But basically that was the system. It's this alternating, relaxed approach. There's less tension, less stress in your arms, and whatever you're doing, it has this down, up, back and forth kind of feel to it. You can even use that for shuffles. There's a guy named Mike who sent me a little message asking about playing the shuffle with the left hand, and the same kind of a technique where it's this rocking. So it's kind of a reverse, but it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. For shuffles, you don't have to play the whole. Sometimes it's just a 1, 2. Alright, so that's the system. That was pretty much it. And of course, you go back over your earlier Buddy Rich exercises, all the paradiddles and stuff, that up accent. Pop drop. Okay, so that's the system. I might get a little bit more into it and explaining it in future lessons. I think when you understand how it's applied to the bass drum technique especially, it's kind of down, up, you kind of lifting from your thigh and you get this up, down kind of approach, and how that coordinates with your arms doing the same kind of technique. It all seems to kind of all fit together, and again, it was this kind of unified, systematic approach towards playing drums. And it was really special. That's what kind of was really unique to Freddie's teaching approach. And so hopefully you guys will, start to mess with that, kind of get a better idea of it, a little more awareness of that relaxed kind of a technique. Anyways, that will cover this lesson. Till next time, you know what I say. Keep it snappy. Thanks. Bye-bye.